So today's topic is new users in GP. So we wanted to go ahead and prepare a presentation. Perhaps you're someone that's fairly new to GP, or you just want to get a recap of some of the functionality that's in there. In either case, it's appropriate for either audience. But if you are a new user, I just want to go over and do a deep dive into the navigation, how to get around in GP, the interface, what's some common themes of the screens, and some common functionality across applications, to go ahead and show you some of the best practices for the use of the home screen, or the home page it's sometimes called. And then, of course, you need to get your reporting out of every system as well. And then, as usual, we'll just open up for some Q&A at the end. Okay, so the first area I want to cover is navigation. So navigation in Microsoft Dynamics GP, it's an object-oriented system, so we're going to see that there is typically more than one way to get to things. And as the program has evolved over the last few years, they've added more navigation options in there. So the first one were the menus, the classic navigation, which were the drop-downs on the top. GP has always had that, and when they enhanced the functionality, they never took it away. So that is certainly an option. Another option is area pages. So if you're a person that spends most of your day in purchasing and you just want to see the full menu, that is an option in that area as well. And those are usually done by function. Then later versions have done navigation lists, where they're giving you the information a little more spreadsheet style, and you're able to go ahead and look at all the customers on one screen and then do dives and interact on them. And the home screen has been improved version in, version out, and it's got a lot of functionality to really personalize your experience. Okay, so just a little deeper dive into the home screen. It's got a couple of different areas on there. The first thing is it's got reminders and tasks, so it's either things that you have to do or things you want to be aware of. There's a link in there to connect to Microsoft's Dynamics site, so if you want to be in the know about events, e-learning, new product updates, etc., you can just go ahead and keep Connect on your home page, and Microsoft just does their social media every single day, and you can see what's going on in the Microsoft Dynamics world. There's a section for My Reports, which functions off your reports. Quick link takes you to all of the menu items, either inside or even outside of GP, that just allows you to get to the information you want super quick. And even there's the BI tool of Business Analyzer is now available on the GP 2013 homepage. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a demonstration of navigation to give you an idea of what your options are. So here I am inside GP, and the first area is the classic navigation. So you can see across the top, this is where it's broken out by function. So if I go into cards, it's on my setup thing. If I go to financial, it's setting up my checkbooks and my general ledger accounts and my some of my currency information. If I go to sales, it's setting up of my customers and my prospects and salespeople. These are the one-time setup or the ongoing setup with master records. And if we go into inquiries, this is where I can see all the things that I can look up. All my read-only access. Transactions will have it broken down by area. Now, as you can see in my demo image, I've got a lot more modules than you're probably meeting in your implementation. So you should have a shorter list than I'm seeing over here. But these are broken out not by module. These are broken out by transaction type or area. So it's broken up into either setup or reports or inquiries or transactions. So, and this is actually a pretty effective way when you want to give someone navigation, when you want to tell them how to add a customer. Typically you tell them to go to cards, go to sales, and go to customers and open up the screen. And so this way it's pretty easy to find it as just direct off the top. In addition, there is the area pages. The area pages are these buttons along the bottom over here, and you can always go ahead and just add or show more or show fewer buttons to make the experience really be what you want. But if I go into, let's go into the purchasing by way of example, and what I'm seeing here is that this is everything that relates to the purchasing module. And you may or may not have purchase orders set up in your environment, but this is showing me both AP and purchasing combined, purchase orders combined. So all of the stuff that would be up here under inquiry is now presented down here. These kind of correlate to the items up at the top. And the nice thing about GP 2013 as well is that if I say to myself, I'm not really I only do year-end and 1099s once a year, and I'm pretty good in the setup. I think things are pretty well set up. You can always customize these views here and go ahead and take setup and routines out of the picture, give yourself a little more streamlined experience, and then when you want to go ahead and put them back, you can customize here and say, okay, I'm now ready for routines, and just expand a little more. So what these do, these area pages, it means that everything you need is 2 clicks away. So once I click into purchasing, if I need to get to vendors, that's click number 2, and it opens it up. If once I click to purchasing and I want to go into put in a transaction for an accounts payable invoice, there it is. So this makes it, if you're someone that focuses on a single area, whether it be sales or order processing or accounts payable, this is probably a better use of how you can use the menu systems. So then the next area is that you can see that every time I go into one of these modules, these items light up. So if I'm in the sales area, you can see all of these these are called navigation lists, and they're in every single module. And in some cases, they're giving me a whole slew of reports. In other cases, they're giving me just like a line-by-line layout of my customers. So let me just give that a second just to load up. I've got quite a few customers. And what this will allow you to do is see all your customers at once. So these are, you can see here that I can go ahead and click this customer, this customer, this customer, delete, print statements, access finance charges. So it's a way I can just go ahead and just globally go ahead and be able to see all my customers and be able to interact with them. I can get red dots over here that tells me, oh, this one's on hold. So it's a little more pictorial. And the nice thing about it too is that as you're changing the lines, the items on the bottom change. So you can see your current balance, your credit limits. You can see the information as I go down to the next customer. Then the information changes to reflect that customer. Let me just go ahead and just click off a bunch of customers. Now you can see here it's showing aging periods, and all of the reports in Business Analyzer are now going to go ahead and reflect just the customers that I've done. So now when I go ahead and I call up that aging, I go ahead and I can see, once I expand it over here, that I can see each one of the customers and how they relate to aging. So I can see, oh wow, this one over here is American and they really got the biggest balance. So this is just a great way if you have to do a lot of functions on a very targeted piece of information, then navigation lists are the way to go. And I definitely encourage you to explore more of them. So there's a whole bunch over here. Some of them are reports, some of them are transactions, some of them are master records, and again, they're module by module. And then when we put this all together, basically it's the next evolution was the GP homepage, and this has gotten better and better over the last few versions. So the GP homepage is all about personalization. So there's always an icon in the upper right-hand corner that says customize this page. Any end user has access to their own homepage. So you should definitely go ahead and customize this page. It's not customizing the normal, accounting software, IT function. Think of it more as a personalization. So you can choose how you want your columns and whether you want the columns to stack on the bottom or left or right. And I'm going to go ahead and just light up the Microsoft Connect here. And then I can go ahead and each one of these items I can go ahead and pop up. So the first one will be Microsoft Connect. So there's always the social media in Microsoft. It's always telling you events that's happening, blogs that are happening. So you can go ahead and look at the information that's coming out. It'll give you news, and it'll go ahead and give you some training that's coming up. So if you want to see what's going on in the Dynamics world, then just pop Connect up, and once you decide you've gotten enough information here, then just take it off. The next item is Business Analyzer. So what Business Analyzer does is there's going to be some reports on the bottom. I think what I'll do is let's pop them up first and explore it, and then I'll show you how you can personalize the reports you're seeing in your Business Analyzer tray. Okay, so I want to take this up to the top. So the first one over here is I've selected a bunch of reports. So inside here I've got some data visualization going on, and I've got customer year-to-date sales by state. And if I just scroll through my tray, I've got my top 5 vendors. And I also have my top 5 vendors by year-to-date purchases, and I've got my top 10 customer balances. And usually you select 5 to 10 reports that are relevant to yours. Microsoft has written over 250, so there's quite a long list to choose from. And you can have as many as you want, but you don't want to keep having to scroll through reports to get to those 2 or 3 go-to reports. So I say kind of keep it small. But what you can always do, and this is interactive BI. So once this is the report I want, I just kind of hover over here in the corner, and it gives me a number of different options. I can change the date. So when I'm saying top 10 customers, I might want to say as of what date. So if I wanted to have it at the end of a quarter or the end of the month or as of today. And I can also go ahead and change some parameters on the report. So once I pop it open, you know, my boss calls me and says he wants 20 customers, so I can just go ahead, or maybe he said 12, and right away it just changes the report. What you can also do is you can also drill into this information. So I'm hovering over there and I can see it's $323,000, and it takes me right into an aging, and eventually I can just drill right into the GP if that was my desire. And any of these SSRS reports, which is the SQL Server reporting services, you can go ahead and just export, and you can export them into a variety of different formats. So if you want to take the pretty chart and graph and put it into a PDF or put it into a Word document or copy it to your clipboard and just send it to a colleague, it's all ready for you to go. Okay, and the way that you go ahead and change the details here is it's always in the pencil. Each one of these sections is going to have the pencil, and on the left-hand side it gives me all the available reports, and you can see there's a slew of them. And if I wanted to go ahead and just put a report over to that side, I just insert it and I just move it up or move it down, and it'll be in my rotating report tray. And those reports are available both inside and outside GP. Okay, so the next item is my to-do, which is on the home page. So inside my to-do, I get both reminders, and there's some stuff that ships with the system and ones you can create yourself. And I also go ahead and get tasks. And so the tasks are things that I need to do. The reminders are things I want the system to keep looking for and telling me about. So some of these reminders are just come right out of the box and ship with GP. So if you just want to get started in a really small way, you just go into the pencil, go into reminders, and this blue is always your expansion button. And you just basically check the boxes. Remind me 5 days after customer invoices have passed their due date. I might want to say I want that in 2 days, and I want to know 10 days, maybe 4 days is enough, and I can change these options. I can also go ahead and add custom reminders here that are basically my smart lists. So I can just create a smart list and tie it on here, and then just give it the individual stuff, the parameters that will make that. I can also create task lists. So here I might want to go ahead and get a general ledger trial balance to print once a month, or process recurring entries, whatever the request is. All you need to do is just click onto New Task, and I can say GL trial balance. Whoops. Let's get this right. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a link. And the link can either be to a web page, an external program, or in my case here I'll use a GP window. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say go into reports, go into financials. So the same navigation that I was showing you at the top is now been set, and I give it the recurrence, and I say I want to print it monthly, and I want to print it on the 30th of each month. And I'm all good to go. And then I can just assign it to whoever I want to, and everything is good. And you can either assign it to any individual in the system, or to a group as well. Okay, so not to be confused with workflow, because these are actually just things on a personalization thing. So it's going to divide into reminders, things that you ask the system to tell you. So if you wanted to see the customers over $50,000 and it's a stack of paper over here, this is with their balance, you just simply double click on it. Whoops, and here are the customers that are over $50,000, and then you can just, maximize this or expand it and see what their balance is, and then to even double click and get into the customer account. So it's pretty easy to get to the information you want as long as you can go ahead and define it. And there's two more sections of the home page. One of them is the quick links, and quick links are actually just super convenient, and they're a place here where I can go ahead and say, you know, I don't want to have to look for things. I just want to put to the things I commonly go to. So here's a cash flow calendar. I don't want to have to remember that it's in the financial section, it's in enquiries or where it is, so I just go ahead and put the shortcut right onto my quick links. So this way it makes it really easy to go ahead and put some things in there. So I think what we'll do is we'll just create another quick link just to show you how easy it is. So I'm going to say add, and when I say I'm going to add it, it does not just have to be inside GP. It can, although it can be a GP window or it can be a navigation list, which I showed you earlier, which is a list of all the customers, a list of all the vendors. It can also be a web page. Perhaps you're going to your online banking day in and day out. So just to go ahead and make sure that you have inside your accounting system all your go-to tools. And maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet that you could just go to constantly, so you can actually just get all of those included in the quick links as well. But if it was a GP window, you just simply go over to Microsoft Dynamics GP, and then we'll go over into inquiries, and suppose I wanted to see the budget summary. I just point to the window, and I just move it up or move it down, and I click on OK. And then all I need to do is refresh my home page, and there is my budget versus actual inquiry that's popping up. And then the final thing is My Reports. Once you go into My Reports as you're inside a report, you just go to File, save it as a favorite, you're good to go. Those reports just accumulate there. So this is just a great way to organize the tools that you need to work with. So Microsoft has already done it into sections for you, and then you fill out your sections to get the user experience you really require. Okay, so now let's continue on come out of navigation, and let's go into the next thing, which is some of the field types. So I want to demonstrate in this next section some of the things with lookups. I know that you probably, if you're using GP, you probably found your way to a finder, but if you're finding it difficult to look for the exact piece of information, there's a couple of tips and tricks we can show you there. The ability to link from one screen to another, some of the expansion screens, being able to browse through records, how you can do the internet capabilities, maps, and autocomplete. Okay. So I'm going to now do a quick demonstration of field types. Okay, so I think what we'll do is let's go to the vendor cards. So that'll be on my home page. It's in one of my quick links. It's right here, takes me to a vendor. So you probably know that you can go ahead and use a magnifying glass here, but you can also go Control L. So if you're someone that's on the keyboard and you want to get into your Finder, Control L will get you there. It defaults to whatever's inside here. So if you're looking up by vendor ID and you say, you know, that was great, but I really know the vendor's name, if you click into this gray area, it'll change what the Finder is on top of there. In addition, you can always add more fields. So you can do it by customer type, or you can do it by any kind of custom sort. So I might say by class ID, and now I'm on class ID, and then I would change this to vendor name, however I want to do it. And you also have some options here to go ahead and set it as a default view. So I want the name to be a default view. I can also go ahead and put in some criteria. So I can put a restricted list. So I want to say only vendors that are 1099s, or whatever is my list, or people in this city, or people in this class, or whatever that is, and these can be in the multiple. So if you find you're someone that's working with vendor A through L, then you can put some filters in there, and this way you get just the vendors that are relevant to you, or this is true throughout the entire system, just the relevant information, and you're not presented with more than that. And this is also a good way you can sort of restrict who sees what. And you can even go ahead and do these vendor lookups using Smart List, but some of your favorites. So I could make the view be 1099 vendors, and now I'm just getting just those 1099 vendors inside the view. So you can play around with the different types depending on what you want. Perhaps the vendor name will just be good enough, or you can go ahead and do some of these custom sorts. Okay, so let me just go ahead. And this, by the way, is how you browse. So you can browse between records by just going one by one by one over here, and it gets us into the individual records. You as a user can set what is in red for me and what's in pink. It's sort of a strange color choice, but what's in red is actually required fields, and what's in pink is going to be what jumps I have. So what that means is that I now know that at a minimum I need to do vendor ID and name. I also know that, okay, here's the address, but I want to see some more information, maybe the EFT information. Once I take that jump, I'm now on the address card. I haven't left my vendor maintenance card, but it's called up the setup for the vendor maintenance. If I wanted to go ahead and say, okay, this is great, but they belong to this tax schedule or this shipping method, give me some more information, you can keep going from screen to screen to screen just by following the jumps. So the jumps are usually for setup screens. So when you're inside a record, you can always go ahead and check the setup if you're not sure of it. Okay, so, and then whenever you see this globe, you can see there it looks sort of like the World Wide Web, or that's what it's supposed to look like. If you just click on there, it'll give you all the internet information for whatever record you're on. So in this case, I'm on a vendor record, so it's actually giving me all of their email addresses and how I'm sending stuff out and what their website is, etc., etc. So it'll give you, in whatever screen you're in, the relevant information. Okay, so let's pop out of that for a second. And then also, if I wanted to go ahead and just map this, I had to do a delivery or I was going to a meeting, I want to see where my customer is. Whenever you see this envelope with the map, that's going to bring you into Bing Maps. So it's just going to say, just a moment, and it's going to take you through and map it out. So it'll take the address in the address card and relate it to the mapping, and you can actually just get directions on the fly. So I'll let that just cook for a couple of seconds. And while it's doing that, let's go over and just show you some expansion buttons as well. Okay, so if we go into transactions and we went into sales, and let's go into sales transaction entry. And let me just call up an invoice. You can see that in many places on here, there's going to be these blue arrows. You can see them here. What those always mean is that there's additional information that can be put into that field. You can either put summary information, or in this case, here's an invoice, but there's a series of dates associated with this invoice. It was ordered on this date, it was shipped on that date, it was fulfilled on that date. You might be entering an accounts payable invoice and you have a document date and a posting date. So typically there's a lot of information in there that's underneath that layer, and it's typically some really good and useful information. So here it's giving me some more information about the line item, and I can even get the quantity in stock and drill into the different prices. I can take this from the item inquiry and just pop over there. So whenever if you're looking for some information and you're just like, why is there not enough information on the screen, definitely use those blue keys. In addition, when you see these two double arrows on the screen, that's your indicator that there's information that's being hidden from you. Not to try to trip you up, just to keep a clean entry screen. So you can take this on or off all during your day and wherever you see it inside there. So it's just, if you want more, pull it down. If you want less, pull it up. And let's just go back to our vendor screen a second, and here's should be our Bing Map is still going through and doing its thing. I'm not sure why, but let me just kind of leave this alone. If I go into the vendor record, and let me just clear out of this, there's autocomplete in here. So when I go to type in A, it's actually calling up what I recently typed in there. So if you're a person that's entering in your data, it's going to start to remember your most commonly used items and actually take it from there. In this case, I want to go back to my friend over here at Advanced. Let me just get my mouse over here. Whoops. Okay. Okay. And it should be, let's call it Advanced Auto Systems. And that would be there. I think I'm going to stop the mapping. It just is kind of slow on this image, and we'll just leave it alone. Okay, so those are some of the things that we do when we fill out the forms. And those are going to be consistent across all of the modules. So whether it be an accounts payable transaction or a general ledger account account card. Red is required, and you'll see the different jumps and the expansions. Okay, so let me move on to the next category, which is going to be the shortcuts. So in addition to your quick links to the different navigation, you can always go ahead and do shortcuts. So shortcuts can either be Windows, they can be Files, they can be Web, they can be Smart Lists, and you can set some user preferences as well. So you don't have to have your required fields in red. If you want them in purple, go ahead. And you can go ahead and use your folders as well in Startup. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can see over on the side here, there's a number of different folders. So there's a number of different ways to get to this. So if I go into my vendor, what I might want to do is go over here and say, add to shortcuts. And what that's going to do is the vendors now appear over here, go into the shortcuts on the side. The same way I've got this, it's inside one of my folders. I also might have management reporter reports, and I want to just make shortcuts here. Or I could have the distribution folder, and inside there it takes me to the customer card, it takes me to the national account. So I'm starting to fill out groups, things I do together. So when it comes to distribution, these are the items that I do. So it's a little different from the quick links in that you're able to go ahead and create new folders for yourself. If you want to create additional folders, all you need to do is just go to Add, and either add a window, add a smart list, add a macro, add a web page, or an external, or you can do a brand new folder. So this just gives you one more option for personalizing your experience. So in addition to the quick links over here, now you're able to categorize things, which gives it just a little more flexibility. Okay, so that was some of the stuff with shortcuts. Okay, and the final area that we want to touch on this morning is reporting. So obviously we need to be able to get reports out of the system. There are some default reports, and one of the areas I want to show you is that you can go ahead and you can save your restrictions. And then of course everyone's favorite, which is Smart List, and I'm just going to do a demonstration of that to kind of get you familiar with how to use the different features of Smart List. And I want you to be aware that there's other reporting. There's Excel Report Builder, there's Live Data Cubes, the Business Analyzer that we showed on the home page, both inside and out, and there's also Business Portal Reports. So there's a lot of other different reporting or BI tools, but I want to just limit it right now to the stuff that's inside the modules and just sort of core and key to the stuff you need for your day-to-day operations. Okay, so with that being said, let's go into a demonstration of reporting. Okay, so I'm going to go into the reports on the top, and I'm going to go into financial, and let's go and get a trial balance. So the first thing you're going to see is that you're going to see there's options. There's options over here that are done. This is an option called demo. It's not a demonstration of the report. It's just what I call the report options on there. But you can go ahead and create as many options as you want. So the first thing you do is you choose whether you want detailed or summary. In this case, I went ahead and I created options for 2016. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So the first thing here is it's asking for our current year, 2016. And let's just change it and say I wanted to get the 2017 trial balance. And I want to go ahead and now put in my different ranges. So I'm going to highlight this date and say remove. And then I'm going to go down here and say enter a date. I'm going to say 01/01/2017. And then I'm going to put my end date as let's make it 12/31/2017. Okay. Now nothing happens. It will not be part of the report parameters until I click on the insert. So whatever's in the insert will do it. And they can be in the multiple. So I can also say give me a count, and I can limit it for an account range. But I'm not going to do that. But I could always go ahead and just layer them on top of each other. And I have some options over here about whether I'm doing posting accounts or unit accounts. But this functionality here is, and I'm going to set my destination to go to the screen, which is great. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to 2017. So whenever I want to get 2017, I don't have to fill in my options. It's all just there and available to me. And I say save. Yep. Okay, and now I'm ready to print it, and then all of these options are available whenever I want to go ahead to do it. So let's just call this one up and we just print it. And there's the report, and I just get it right on there. So now it'll just be saved to the front. So what all of those reports, and you'll see the same thing when you go into purchasing and you go into the trial balance or the AR trial balance, and you'll see that you have options as far as, do you want the current trial balance or do you want historical? Do you want to roll it back to a period in time? And then you start saving all of your different options. So if you've got your California customers, your New York customers, and you're always doing a custom ask, then you can go ahead and set up as many saved reports, even though they really are the same report, just different requests every time. Okay, and so the next item inside the reporting is everybody's friend, which is SmartList. So SmartList is a way that I can go ahead and ask for specifically what I want inside of AX. So if we go into, you can see that the system comes preloaded with whatever modules you're implementing. There's a variety of different reports. We'll focus on the sales area right now. So you can see inside sales, there's even subfolders within there. And I can put as many folders as I want, but the system does come preloaded with tons of transactions. So, and there's always going to be a star one. The star one means that it's going to be a custom smart list. And I'm just going to say OK. And now it's going to fill up my screen with all my sales data. And you can see in the lower left-hand side, it's counting away. And let's give it a maximize here so we can get a better view. Okay. Well, one of the first things in here is that all of this information you can always go ahead and drill into. So if you see this invoice for $9,300 and it just catches your eye and you want to see what's on that invoice, you just simply double-click and it'll take you to the actual transaction itself. So you can see, oh, it was $87.40. Here's the sales tax being added in. If I'm using what I learned before, I can highlight a line and get to some more information, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You can also go ahead and add information or limit it in there. Suppose what I really want to see is that I'm seeing here I've got back orders and fulfillment orders and invoices, and what I really want to see is I want to see the invoices for 2017. So what I simply do is I go into search to limit what I'm seeing. So the first thing is, and I look over here at what the column is called, and I'll know exactly how to do the restriction. Let me just move this over. So you can see it's called SOP type. So I'll say, okay, let's limit the SOP type, and I go down to SOP type, and it's equal to invoice. And then I'm going to also put a second limitation here, and I'm going to say the document date, and I'm going to say is between. And I'll put the date of 01/01/2017, and the ending date here will be 12/31/2017. Okay. And now I've just restricted just the 2017 sales. And you can do things like move the stuff around. Maybe I want the customer name to come over here, and I want the customer number to be right before that. And I might want to sort it by, go over here and sort it by document amount, and I might want to go from the highest to the lowest so I can zero in. Or I might want to sort it by customer number and say I want to put subtotals by customer. So I simply drag the customer number into this area here, and I go ahead and say I want a count, and I also want a sum. So right away I've got the dollar amount and I've got the number of invoices for each customer. And then what I want to do is I want to pop it out to Excel so I can email it to my boss. So I basically go out to Excel, and you can see it's just blinking on the bottom, so I just pick it up. And now it's given me, some nice summarizations. I can see 129 invoices for this amount of money. If I go into the next one, I can see customer totals. And if I go a little bit deeper over here, I can see the number of documents, and then I can see all of the data. And if I want all those subtotals off, I know how to do it because I'm inside Excel, and it's just typical Excel functionality that I'm doing. So the next thing with SmartList is, and let's put this customer number back here so that, yeah, there we go right there. Perfect. And what I can also do is I might want to add some columns. I might want to add some additional information. So when that is the case, then you just basically go into columns and you pull up whatever information you want. So if we take a scroll through, let's go ahead and find something. Let's take their street address. And I'm going to add some more, and I'm also going to find the city. And I know the word city is going to be down there, so I can just say find next, and it took me right to it. So once you learn all of what the language is, then you can go ahead and do it, but it's not cryptic. It's all done in plain English, so it makes it really easy just to add information. Okay. And those are in good spots. If I wanted to, I could move the stuff up or down, and now the information I requested just got enhanced. So just in a couple of seconds, I was able to do a report subtotaling or not subtotaling, getting counts, and you can see now the city and the address is inside there. And even though it just took me 2 or 3 minutes, I don't want to go ahead and have to do this every single time, so I just make it one of my favorites. So I'm going to say, and I want to call it 2017 sales. And I'm going to be nice, so I'm going to make it, everyone gets, I'm going to make it visible to everybody, but I could do it by a class of users or companies, and I'm going to add it, and I'm going to add it not just as a favorite, I'm going to add it as a favorite and a reminder to my home page. And I'm going to say when the number of records is greater than 1, I want you to show it to me as a queue. And so what this does here is now it's saved for me, and once I go ahead and refresh this, here's my 2017 sales, so I don't even have to go to SmartList. I've now put it on my home page, and when I want to use it, I just simply click into it, and it'll take me right to that SmartList I just created in a couple of minutes. And then, drilling into the information right back over there. So that's just a quick little demonstration of SmartList. I mean, the possibilities are really endless here, and you can always see all your SmartLists. If I'm in the sales section, you're going to always see your SmartList favorites, where it's now going to print a list of all my SmartLists, and from there I can do a deeper dive. And that's just sort of putting the navigation list, what you learned from navigation lists, and what you just learned from SmartList together. And now we can go ahead and say, take this report and go into it, or go into the report itself, or view it, and it'll just take you right into that report. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. And I think at this point I want to open it up for some Q&A.